In the vast library of human emotion, some stories are not novels, but lightning strikes, brief, devastating illuminations that reveal a landscape forever changed. Published in 1894, Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour is one such flash. In just over 1,000 words, it performs a delicate and brutal autopsy on the human heart, exploring the terrifying gulf between public duty and private self, between the cage of expectation and the fragile, soaring dream of freedom. This is not an epic of external adventure, but the intimate record of a quiet revolution that transpires in a single room within the span of 60 ticking minutes. The news arrives swaddled in caution, delivered with veiled hints and broken sentences. To Louise Mallard, a woman known to have a delicate heart, her sister Josephine and her husband's friend Richards reveal a crushing truth. Brentley Mallard has been killed in a railroad disaster. Louise's reaction is immediate, a storm of wild abandonment in her sister's arms. But this storm passes as quickly as it came, leaving exhaustion in its wake. She retreats alone to her room, not to a sanctuary of grief, but to a neutral space, the only space in the house that is, for this moment, hers alone. This simple act of closing the door is the story's first, silent act of defiance. The world of social expectation, of performed mourning, is left in the parlor. In her room, something else begins to stir. She sinks not into despair, but into a comfortable, roomy armchair facing an open window. And here, Chopin pivots. What greets Louise is not an extension of her sorrow, but its absolute antithesis. Life in its most insistent, sensual form. She sees the tops of trees that were all aquiver with the new spring life. She feels the delicious breath of rain in the air. She hears the distant song of a peddler and the faint notes of someone singing. These are not assaults on her grief. They are subtle, persistent invitations. They seep into her, past the walls of shock, and they awaken a part of her that had been sleeping, or perhaps had been forcibly put to sleep. The open window is more than a set piece. It is the story's central symbol. It is the membrane between the inner world of repression and the outer world of possibility. The blue sky isn't just weather, it is an expanse. The budding trees aren't just scenery, they are a mirror of latent potential waiting to unfold. And then, from a depth she has never before dared to plumb, the truth erupts. It is a single, simple, terrifying word. Free. It begins as a whisper, then grows in strength and certainty. Free! Body and soul free. This is not the calculated thought of a schemer, but the visceral, monstrous joy of a prisoner who has just felt her chains fall away. Her pulse races, not from a sick heart, but from a heart finally beating in its own frantic, liberated rhythm. In this crystalline moment, she analyzes her past not with bitterness, but with the clarity of a freed woman. She acknowledges that her husband was kind, that he loved her, but she sees with devastating insight that love itself can be a kind of tyranny when it is bound by the powerful will bending hers in that blind persistence. The future, which moments ago was a gray void, now stretches before her as a possession all her own. What could love count for in face of this possession of self-assertion? Her heart trouble is redefined. It was never merely a physical ailment. It was the symptomatic ache of a self-suppressed, a soul struggling to breathe under the weight of prescribed life. Transfigured, Louise emerges from her room. The woman who entered is not the woman who exits. There is a feverish triumph in her eyes, and she carries herself with unshakable poise. Like a goddess of victory, she descends the stairs toward the life she is now ready to claim. Below, a latchkey turns in the front door. It is Brentley Mallard, alive, well, and utterly unaware of the tragic reports or the revolution that has just transpired in his own home. There is a piercing cry. Josephine's. Richard moves to shield Brentley from view, but he's too late. The doctors who arrive later deliver the story's final, devastating line. Louise Mallard died of heart disease, of the joy that kills. Chopin's irony here is absolute and brutal. It was not joy that killed her, but the catastrophic shock of a prison door being reopened the very instant she had breathed the air of freedom. Her weak heart could withstand grief, but it could not withstand the shattering of a hope so newly and fiercely born. Her life ended not in the sorrow of loss, but in the profound, untenable contradiction of a freedom granted and instantly revoked. In the stark economy of a few pages, Kate Chopin does more than tell a story with a twist. She constructs a perfect, poignant trap for the human spirit and holds a devastating mirror to the soul-crushing confines of 19th century womanhood. The Story of an Hour argues that freedom is not an abstract political idea, but a vital, physiological need. Louise Mallard's tragedy is that she discovered her own self, vibrant and capable, only to have that self annihilated by the world's relentless demand for its own unchanged order. The story leaves us with a haunting question. What truly constituted her fatal heart trouble? Was it the flawed organ in her chest, or the stifling, inescapable architecture of the life she was required to live? Her hour of freedom was brief, but its echo is eternal. Thank you for joining me in The Story of an Hour, where a lifetime of feeling unfolds in minutes. Some of the most profound revolutions happen not on battlefields, but in the quiet chambers of the human heart. Until next time, keep listening for the stories that connect us all.